We've got to stop tearing each other apart just because of our political beliefs. And we have to come together to get things done. Otherwise, the politicians are going to win because we're going to be so busy hating each other and tearing things down. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And then by the time we wake up and realize that they really screwed us over, it's going to be too late.
Welcome to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. Tune in every Tuesday, and don't forget to subscribe. And now your host, Nicholas Comstock.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud. I am your host, Nick Comstock. I am so glad you guys are here with me today on this Tuesday. So glad to be with you. Hope you're getting your Tuesday morning off to a great start. Or if you're winding down with me on a Tuesday evening, I hope you've had a very productive day. And if you've had a terrible day, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, what a way to end a terrible day, listening to your best friend, Nick, from the Nick Speaks podcast. So this is the Nick Speaks podcast where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. And like I said, I'm so glad you're here with me today. I want to talk to you guys today. You guys are stuck with me, and I wanted to give you a couple updates and really talk to you about some things that are on my heart. So, first of all, I want to say that we are not that far from 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, if you are watching this on YouTube right now and you have not subscribed to the Nick Speaks podcast here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and please hit that notification bell. If you are listening on any of our platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, if you're listening on any of those, please give the Nick Speaks podcast a review, and a 5-star rating would be nice as well. And please share the podcast with your friends, not only disabled people that you may know, but non-disabled people that you know, because a lot of times disabled people are misunderstood. And this podcast is to help the non-disabled person understand what goes on in a disabled person's world. So, and I'm just one perspective. I'm not the one, I don't say that I'm the be all end all, but I think I bring you guys good advice, good insight that could really help a lot of people. So please share this podcast with your disabled friends, your non-disabled friends, so that we can all help each other out, work better in the disabled community. All right. Thanks for letting me say that little blurb. Also, I want to give a big thanks to my guests for the last 2 weeks, Jean Stuntz and Nicole Jorwick. Jean is from Dynamic Pathways, and Nicole Jorwick is from Caring Across Generations. Both of you ladies did awesome the past 2 weeks. And if you have not listened to those episodes 88 and 89, please go back and listen to them, because I believe that there is incredible insights from those women into the disabled community. And I believe it'll help you a great deal. It'll help you understand the disabled community a lot more. So go back and listen to the last 2 weeks if you have not. Also, I'm here to give you an update on something that I've talked about a little bit on this podcast, but I dedicated an entire episode to it on episode 87. And I talked about the struggle of getting my MoSmart 150 portable patient lift. This is a lift that will allow me to go to doctor's appointments, um, be transferred safely, go to out of town speaking engagements for work, all that stuff. I talked about how much red tape I've had to go through, and all I needed to get was a pre authorization so that the D&E company could get more money from Medicaid. And I told you that I would give you an update as soon as I found out one. And I have found out one. My pre authorization has been approved, and I should have my MoSmart 150 portable patient electric lift within 3 to 4 weeks. So hopefully I'll be able to come back, show you all some pictures of me in the lift. And like I said, then we won't really use the lift unless my track ceiling lift goes out here at my house, or I go for a doctor's appointment or a out of town speaking engagement. So, and it's really important for the doctor's appointments. I need to go back and have a sleep apnea study done. I told you about that whole fiasco in a couple different episodes. I need to go back and have a sleep apnea study done, and I cannot have that done without my Smart 150 portable patient lift. Hopefully, I will have that lift within 3 to 4 weeks. I got a call shortly after we taped episode 87, and that's what they told me. So hopefully I'll be able to come to you guys within the next 2 to 3 weeks and say, hey, I got it. And you guys, this just goes to show you, don't just lay down and take no for an answer. Don't just give up. Listen, I was talking to one of my friends the other day on the phone, and we were saying how the friend of mine, she's actually been on the show, and we were saying how that being an advocate for ourselves is a full-time job. You have to stay on top of your doctors. You have to stay on top of your case manager. You have to stay. And when they tell you no, you can't be afraid to push back. You have to push back. Every no that I've ever gotten here in the state of Ohio, I have turned into a yes. And it's because I have not given up. I understand why people give up. I do, because there's been several times throughout the process where I've just wanted to say, the hell with it, forget it. But I know if I do that, I wouldn't be sticking true to my speak up, speak out, and speak loud mantra that I really truly do believe it's not just a mantra. And so let me be an example for you that I'm about to have a lift that I was told nobody was going to pay for, even though it was a covered item. And here we are several months later, and I'm about to have it in 3 to 4 weeks. And I give credit and glory to God first and foremost, but I also take some credit myself because I've never given up. And you, as a disabled advocate, you cannot let one no or 1,000 no's deter you from getting where you want to be in your life, because you're going to get 100,000 no's before you get a yes. And I wish I could tell you that it's going to be easier once you get that first yes, but it's not. It's not going to be easier. But I will tell you what it'll do. Once you start getting a couple yeses under your belt, you'll get hungry for the yes, and you'll start to taste the yes, and you won't want to give up until you get it. That's what'll happen when you get your first yes on something that you've been trying to get for a while. So I wanted to give you an update on that and let you know that I'll have that in 3 to 4 weeks, like I said. Today, guys, I want to talk to you about something that has been on my heart since last Saturday. I post a blog on my Facebook page. I started it a couple weeks before Christmas last year, and then my grandfather got really sick, so I took a break for a while. But I just recently started it up again. And on Saturday, I I use Chat GPT for a lot of the work that I do. I use it for my Facebook posts. I start using it for whenever I want to send a message, because whenever I want to send a message or an email or be clear, Chat GPT can help me with a punctuation and wording, as to where if I'm just sending it through Siri or something like that, it's one big long sentence, and there's always that chance that Siri can get in a couple words that I didn't say and make it sound something totally weird. So I've been using Chat GPT a lot. Well, lately I've been having fun doing some AI photos. And so I took a photo of me, and I took a photo of President Trump. I didn't do anything with the photo with President Trump. I took a photo of President Trump, and I took a photo of me, and I told Chat GPT to put me in like a sweater vest, and I had them put my arm around Donald Trump and Donald Trump's arm around me. And I made this post, and I was bold. I took a chance, and I said, I'm not waiting for the White House to call me. I'm requesting a meeting. And I think the title was, I'm not waiting for the White House to call me. I am demanding a seat at the table. And then I basically wrote an open letter to Donald Trump, and I asked him, I am requesting a meeting with you to talk about things that are really affecting the disabled community. And I was not surprised, but what I really found out was that there are some nasty people in this world. I mean, you can go on my Facebook page and look at it. My Facebook page is public. It's at Nicholas Comstock. But man, there are some nasty people in this world. And they were just saying, they said to me, how can you write it if you don't have any legs? And this is a podcast, so I can be explicit. They were talking about, how can I ride President Trump's Johnson if I don't have any legs? Because they were assuming that I was, they were basically saying that we were being inappropriate together, and just all kinds of stuff. I was told I was gonna rot in hell, and I was gonna, I'm voting against my best interest. The whole point of the post was not to say, President Trump, I support you, and I think you're the greatest president ever, which I do support him, and I don't bow down to him like a lot of his supporters do. There are things with Trump that I don't agree with, and I'm not going to get into that right now. That's not the purpose of this podcast. But the purpose of this podcast today is to say, what in the world is wrong with people? You guys do realize that we need both sides of the aisle to get any legislation passed, and we have to get the president on our side, no matter if we like him or not, because he's the one that's going to put it into law. And so, for everybody that likes to say President Trump hates people with disabilities, and President Trump makes fun of disabled people, and you keep wanting to bring up his time 11 years ago when he made fun of the disabled reporter. And I understand that that upset a lot of people. I look at it like this: yes, Trump should not have made fun of that disabled reporter, but you guys have to understand, he makes fun of every reporter that he disagrees with. Well, he made fun of his disability. Okay. Well, he's called Stormy Daniels horseface. He's called Caitlin Collins from CNN piggy. So there's no filter with Trump. Trump takes no prisoners. Does that make it right? No. My point of that Facebook post was we need to sit down and talk because there are things in the disabled community that need to be fixed. And, sir, I believe that you're one that can fix it. You know what the sad thing is? If I would have put up a AI generated photo with me and President Obama having lunch at Martha's Vineyard, if I would have put up that AI generated photo, my friends on the conservative side, which I vote for, would have said, "Oh, you're with someone with the Muslim Brotherhood. You know he's not American, right?" So if I would have generated an AI photo with any other Democrat, my own party would have come after me and said things like, it's not the Democrats who really help you, right? It's the Republicans. No, it's neither one of you. Because the last time the Republicans and the Democrats came together to do any serious legislation for people with disability was 36 years ago, this July 26th. And it's the ADA. And it doesn't have any teeth. The ADA doesn't really have any teeth, and it needs to seriously be updated. I've said this before on my podcast. The ADA is as old as I am, and it hasn't been updated since its inception. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I think it is absolutely hypocritical for the left to come after me when you guys are so, let's accept everyone. We're intolerable. We accept everyone's sexuality. We accept everyone's beliefs. We accept everyone if they want to identify as a chicken nugget. But the moment I say to the president of the United States, someone that a lot of you don't agree with, "Hey, Mr. President, it would be the honor of my life to sit down with you and talk with you about disability policy." And let me make something clear. It would be the honor of my life to sit down with any president of the United States and talk with them about disability policy, regardless on whether or not I voted for them. I did vote for President Trump 3 times, and I'm glad I did. And would I vote for him again? Yes. Do I believe he's going to run for a third term? No, because people said that about Obama when he got out of office. The crazy nuts on my side. They said he's going to try to run for a third term. He's going to try to call off the election. That's what they said about Obama when he was set to leave office on the conservative side. I know because my family was one of the people touting that message. He's going to try to call off the election. No, he's not, and he didn't. And neither is Trump. Okay. But anyway, we have to come together. No, I, yes, I do think one party runs the country better than the other. But you know what? At this point, who cares? Because neither one of them have done anything for the people of disabilities in the last 36 years to talk about. What really irritates me is last week we had 238 Congress members, 183 Democrats, and 55 Republicans. You see, y'all had to come together. And y'all came together last week to block a federal ban from taking place so that people can buy soda from their SNAP benefits. Now, there are some states that have taken it upon themselves to ban this. The three that I can think of right off the bat are Iowa, Nebraska, and Arkansas. They have said you cannot buy soda with your SNAP benefits. Well, I saw an article from Newsmax this week that said that 183 Democrats and 55 Republicans came together to stop a block from the federal level to continue to allow people from buy soda on food stamps. And I'm sitting here, really? We can come together for that, but we can't come together to raise the $2,000 cap that has been in place on people with disabilities since at least 1989. We can't come together as a country and say, why are 80% of people with disabilities not employed? You guys are underutilizing the biggest workforce in America, in my opinion, which is people with disabilities. You want to see this economy take off like it never has before? Give the 80% of people with disabilities that are unemployed a fair shot at working. Not saying that all of them will be able to work a full time or a part time job, but at least give the 80% that say, I want to work and I believe I can, at least give us a fair shot. I've said this many times on the program, and today I'm going to mention the agency, and I don't care because I don't have to kiss anybody's ass. I was told by 2 states and 3 different counties that I'm unemployable because of my disabilities. Indiana told me, you know what, there's really nothing we can do. So basically, you're out of luck. That's what they said. I came here to Ohio. They said the same thing in Richland County. Here in Columbus, they said after a 6-hour report, me putting pegs in a board of the size of a grain of rice and me trying to move my foot on a pedal to see if I can move an arrow around a screen, knowing that I can even barely lift my own foot without pain. I can't really lift it at all, but they thought I could move an arrow around a screen. After 6 hours of trying to do mindless bullshit like that, the state of Ohio looked at me and said, by my report and by my expertise, Nick, you have nothing to offer an employer. And these are people, Ohioans for Opportunities with Disabilities, OOD, likes to tout everyone's employable. Ohio likes to tout we are an equal opportunity employer. And I'm here to say, no, you're not. Because if you were, I would be employed right now. I wouldn't be struggling to try to figure out how to start a production company and keep my podcast afloat and all that stuff. If I was really employable, if if I was really employable, I would probably have a job in marketing, which I am really employable, but nobody wanted to give me a chance because they wanted to take time and do stupid tests that have absolutely nothing to do with my capabilities or my talents. So yeah, I'm frustrated with both sides of the aisle. And all I was trying to do with that post on Saturday was, you know what, President Trump, we need to talk. You need to be aware. And I keep telling you guys all the time, presidents, no matter who they are, Democrat or Republican, they have so much stuff on their plate that people with disabilities and the issues that we face every day are at the bottom of their list. We have to speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that affect us every day. And we have to get as loud as we can until they're like, okay, okay, we hear you and we're going to do something. And you can't say, well, I'm not going to talk to that guy because that guy hates people with disabilities. First of all, I don't believe that Trump hates people with disabilities. Okay. I just don't. Should he have made fun of that reporter? No, he should not have made fun of that reporter. He shouldn't be disrespectful to any reporter. But you know what? By this point, that's who he is, unfortunately. He's unfiltered. And if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And I've said this before on social media when I've talked about this on my TikToks and when I've talked about this on Facebook. If I would have been that disabled reporter in his shoes, yeah, I probably would have been a little upset that he made fun of my disability. But at the same time, as someone who comes from the disabled community and who says, treat me as a person without a disability, I probably would have sat back and thought, wow, he didn't take a fact, he didn't take into account that I had a disability. He treated me just like he treats every other reporter that he disagrees with. Do I like it? No, but at least he didn't treat me with kid gloves. You guys have to understand that in order to get anything done in this country, we have to take meetings with both sides of the aisle. And you know what? Politicians have done their job the last decade because all they've spent time doing ever since Trump went down the escalator, and this has happened on both sides. All they've spent time doing ever since Trump went down the escalator is to get one side to hate the other. But you know what? It's kind of interesting. I don't think one side's trying to get to hate. I don't think one side is trying to get the other to hate each other. Because if you're a Democrat, I have Democrat friends that can't stand Trump. That hasn't messed with any of my friendships. That hasn't messed with any of my family members. We just don't talk about it. Now, I do talk about it with my friends, and I do have spirited debates with them. But and I will say it is the Democrats who are like, well, if you vote for Trump, I can't associate with you. And if there are Trump supporters that say, if you're a Democrat, I can't associate with you, well, then they are no better than those who say, if you vote for Trump, I can't do that. Or if you vote Democrat, I can't do that. Because at the end of the day, if you're a good human and you contribute to society and you try to make the world a better place than what it was when you came here as a baby, as long as you try to do that, I honestly don't care what you believe. If you're not out here taking lives of innocent people, if you're not out here, um, just hating on people just to hate on people just because they don't believe the way you believe, and you just really try to make the world a better place, I don't care who you vote for. Heck, I don't care if you don't vote and you complain even though you don't vote. You know why? Because freedom of speech. I people say all the time, if you don't vote, don't complain. I don't want to hear you about it. Oh, really? So you want to take their right away? Really? That's not what the military says. The military doesn't say, come be in the military, otherwise you can't complain about the rights that are going wrong in this country. What if the military came out and said, unless you almost died on the battlefield, you can't have anything to say about what's going on in this country? Then a lot of us would be in trouble because we didn't go in the military. Let me go back to the soda thing for just a second. I don't use food stamps to buy soda. I have occasionally, but I typically try not to. I get $62 a month in food stamps. $62 a month. I get $1,000 from the government between the cost of living adjustment I get, which is $810, and then the money that I received from my mother's retirement, which is $204. that comes to just over $1,000 a month. 30% of that, $294, goes to my rent. And then I have internet that I have to pay for. And I need internet because it's helping me do what I'm doing now. And, you can't really purchase much for $62 on a food stamp card. So I have spent a lot of my own money out of my pocket so that I can eat. I just spent $250 out of my Social Security budget for groceries. And even when Obama was in office and Biden was in office, I wasn't getting enough money to survive off of food stamps. And you know why I only get $62 a month on food stamps? This is the government's reasoning on this. You want to hear this? Because my landlord takes care of my utilities and all I have to pay for is my rent, then I lose the opportunity to have more food in my belly at night. That's what they say. I had someone directly at the food stamp office tell me that. I hate it when they do that to you guys and they don't include you and you don't pay utilities because then you don't get more money in food stamps. So simply because I don't have an electric bill attached to my name, I don't have a gas bill attached to my name, I get food taken out of my mouth. And I'll just say this. I I'm working hard to get off the system and be self-supporting away from everyone. My I have uh I get a little bit of help with my finances. That's all I'll say. I get a little outside help. Has nothing to do with work, but I am doing everything I can to get off the system. People send me DoorDash gift cards. People will DoorDash food to my house. So I guess I won't have to not say what help it is. So I'll just say that people DoorDash food to my house. People give me DoorDash gift cards during the Christmas holidays, and I try to save those up. That's how I make it. Otherwise, a good portion of my food, a good portion of my money, 40 to 50% of it goes to restaurants because I don't get enough money off of food stamps. And my caregivers, God bless their souls, as much as I love them, they are not they're not real good cooks. I have one on my team that is an excellent cook. Unfortunately, they only work 2 days a week. Used to work 3 days a week, but now they got a better promotion at their job, and so they're only working here 2 days a week. That's another reason why I want to talk to President Trump and folks in Washington. Because why are 238 members able to come together in Congress and talk about, oh yeah, people need to be able to still get sugary sodas? Why are 238 people able to talk about that and solve that in a matter of time, but they're not able to get together in a matter of time and say, hey, let's fix the savings cap. Let's fix the 80% unemployment rate for people with disabilities. Let's fix oh, you're going to lose your health care if you work too much. Or how about this? Let's give enough people money on disability so that they don't even let's give let's not give them enough money on disability. Let's give them enough money at their job so they don't have to worry about having government support. Isn't this the land of milk and honey? Isn't this the land of opportunity? Not for people with disabilities, it's not. I'm thankful for the waiver that I have. I'm thankful for the Medicare and the Medicaid that I have. But after all the red tape that I went through the past few months, and I'm still going through more of it, like that's why I'm getting tired of it. But believe you me, I'm not going to get so tired of it that I'm going to give up on advocating for myself. So, yeah, people, we are never going to get together if we don't stop hating each other because of our political beliefs. In Congress, I'll say this to you: you came together on the wrong issue. You've got marriage inequality for people with disabilities. You've got the pathetic $2,000 savings rule that's been in effect since 1989. You've got 80% of people with disabilities unemployed, either because they just given up looking, or they've decided to be an entrepreneurial like myself, or they've been told, guess what, you have nothing to offer an employer like I have. And Ohio, change your slogan, because everyone is not employable. Does everyone deserve a fair shot? Yes, but everyone is not employable. And you're not an equal opportunity employer if Ohioans with for people with disabilities is telling folks they have nothing to offer an employer because of their disabilities. You're not an equal opportunity at that point. At that point, you become a liar, and it needs to be dealt with. Vivek, if you're listening, you got 82% of the vote on primary night. Congratulations. This is the type of stuff that needs changed. Amy, if you're listening, you got the vote for the Democratic Party. Congratulations. Let's come together. Let's make this better for people with disabilities in Ohio, and eventually not just in Ohio, but across the country. We've got to stop tearing each other apart just because of our political beliefs, and we have to come together to get things done. Otherwise, the politicians are going to win, because we're going to be so busy hating each other and tearing things down. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And then by the time we wake up and realize that they really screwed us over, it's going to be too late. But yeah, just President Trump, if you're listening, Baron, if you're listening, my name is Nick. My name is Nick. I am the host of the Nick Speaks podcast. I would love a meeting with President Trump or someone from his administration to talk about the issues in depth of what people like myself have to go through on a daily basis. Because no president in my lifetime that I can remember, except before I was born, I was born in March of 1990. The ADA was put in place of July in 1990. So I came right on the crux of it about to happen. It happened later that summer. But other than that, no president in my lifetime has ever done anything that I can remember to change the lives of people with disabilities. And the only way that that can change is if somebody gets in President Trump's ear and says, this is what's going on. And I believe I can be that person. You know what? I don't have to be the only person. You can go to whitehouse.gov/contact and request a meeting, because that's what I'm going to do. Let me tell you about this as well. If you listen to Nicole Jorick's podcast from last week, episode 89, which I'm going to put that episode in the show notes because I believe it's really important. You know, everybody likes to say, those that don't like Trump, everybody likes to say he wants to reinstitutionalize everybody and that have a disability and put us back in institutions again. And everybody thinks that we got rid of institutions. Well, guess what? No, we haven't. We haven't gotten rid of institutions. If you tuned in last week, you found out that 35 states still have state run institutions for people with disabilities, and 7 of them are in Illinois. And just in Illinois alone, the general number is between $215,000 to $250,000. It's probably a lot higher, but that's the general number that Nicole gave us last week. Could you imagine what the citizens of Illinois that are disabled, what their lives would be like if they had access to that $215,000 to $250,000 for home-based community services? Could you imagine what their life would be like? Oh, and by the way, we also found out that Illinois is one of the worst ranking states for services for people with disabilities. And people like to say, well, the Democrats run things better for people with disabilities. Well, not Illinois, because they've been run by Democrats for years. They only had one Republican for one term, I believe, that I can remember. I don't remember the name of it now, but even then, he couldn't get Illinois out of the mess that they've been in for years. Illinois is one of the worst ranking states for people with disabilities. By the way, it's ran by Democrats. Also, so those of you who don't think that I'm just picking on the Democrats, Texas is not a good state for people with disabilities. So I hear. If you want to get 24-hour care in Texas, you can't live in your own home. You have to go into a facility. That's what a lot of people with disabilities in Texas have told me. Or you have to live in a group home. And I don't understand that because Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is in a wheelchair. So, sir, may I ask you a question, Governor Abbott? With all due respect, why does your state suck when it comes to disability services? It doesn't matter which side is in office when it comes to disability service. What matters is who runs the checkbook, what services are of value that they are cutting. If you would have listened to the podcast last week, you would have heard that $930 billion in Medicaid services have been cut or are in the process of being cut. One or the two. $930 billion. How many people with disabilities is that going to affect? I don't know. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not one of those people. I'm just saying to the folks in Washington on both sides, are you really thinking about the decisions that you are making that affects everyday people? And I'm asking this question again on both sides of the aisle, for Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, libertarians. I don't care. Think about your decisions before you sign on to support a piece of legislation on either side of the aisle. Really think about how it's going to affect your constituents, not just people with disabilities, but I'm here speaking on behalf of people with disabilities. Because people with disabilities, I believe, are not only one of the most underutilized communities in our country, but we are the most forgotten community in our country. And I am here to change that. The goal for this podcast is to bring people with disabilities from the back of the class to the front of the class. And if I haven't done a good job of that in the last 2 years, then I need to hang up the podcast mic. But you know what? I think I've done a pretty good damn job. So come August, we're going to celebrate our 3rd year here at Nick Speaks. And I'm going to do it. And honestly, we need to come together on both sides. I know I've rambled a lot today and I messed up a lot of words, and I'm really sorry, but I'm really passionate about this topic. It's one of the reasons why I don't like doing monologues, because I don't have a script in front of me that I can read because I'm legally blind. I would much rather have an interview. Thank God I'll have interviews for the next 2 weeks and I can just sit and ask questions and have them do all the time. But you don't want to miss the next 2 weeks of Nick Speaks because we have some incredible guests coming up. A friend of the show will be back on next week's episode. Hopefully, I had the pre-call with him last week. Last Thursday, last Wednesday, I had a pre-call with a guest that will be on this program, that's been on this program twice before, and we're going to have a great episode. So you do not want to miss next week. And you do not want to miss the week after that, because I have some friends of mine, some colleagues that just came from Washington, D.C., and they spoke with people from both sides of the aisle. I don't want to say names because I can only remember one name that they spoke with, and I don't want to say one name because then somebody will come out and say, well, he's for that party or he's for this party. And how can you forget the other people? Oh, that's because you only support one party. No, I'm not falling into that trap. And oh, by the way, I went to vote in the primary election. It was Ohio's primary election last Tuesday. And I went to vote. And on the voting screen, it says, please say who you're voting for, like Republican or Democrat. I don't like that. That needs to change, because I was talking with my caregiver the other day on the way over there because we were talking about it. And they were asking me, would you ever, vote for a Democrat if you felt like they were, you know, a good candidate for the job? And I answered to him. I said, yes, I would. If I noticed a Democrat that I thought would be really good as a presidential candidate or as a candidate to run the state, and they were going to do a good job for people with disabilities, and I knew that they weren't just blowing smoke up my butt, I would vote for them. But the state of Ohio didn't allow me that option because I had to go pick which party I was voting for before I went into the voting booth. So that needs to change, because I don't like that. I'm seriously considering changing my voter registration to independent, because you know what? If I don't like either one, I just have to pick which one best fits me and hold my nose. It's interesting when Trump was rerunning, and my girl Judge Judy, you guys heard in a couple episodes ago that I'm a big fan of Judge Judy. My girl Judge Judy came out in support of Nikki Haley, and the supporter asked her if it came down to Trump or Biden, what are you going to do? And all she did was this. And for those of you that can't see me, I'm holding my nose. All she did was this. She was like, I'm going to go in, hold my nose, and just go to the voting booth. Some of us, that's just what we have to do, because neither candidate is good. You have to go the lesser between two evils. So, yeah, a lot of this has been surrounded by disability policy today, in politics. And I've said to people for years, I don't want to get into politics because I really don't. But as I'm sitting here and my career is getting bigger by the day, it seems, disability is all about politics. And if I am going to see any of the change that I want to see, I may just have to step into it. And, some people will say that are in the disabled community, that either work in it or that have a disability in it and they're a strong advocate. they'll say, I'm not going to see the change in the disability community in my lifetime. Well, yeah, if you have an attitude like that, you probably won't. Because I tell you, I'm gonna work to see major change in the disability community, or I'm gonna die trying. And then hopefully I'll be able to give the torch on to somebody else. Thank you guys so much for listening to my rant, I guess you could say. Um Please follow and subscribe to the Nick Speaks podcast. You know, I barely bring this up. My Cash App is in my show notes. My Cash App should be in my LinkTree. If you could go to $Comstock 90 and just send whatever you can to help keep this program coming to you on the air every Tuesday, like it's done for the last 2 years, I would really, really appreciate it, because it is an expense for me. I have a family member helping me with this. It is an expense for the both of us to keep this program on the air. So if you like what I do every week, if you love what I do every week, please consider opening your Cash App and going to Comstock and typing in $Comstock 90. So whatever you can send would be greatly appreciative. You know, I'm not going to say whatever you can send. I'll say this. If those of you that are watching or listening could send me $50 a month, and I will not see the money. I will not see the money. It'll go directly to my producing services, but it has to be sent to me, but I won't touch that money. It will go directly to my producing services. If you could send $50 a month to Comstock 90 to help with the funding of the producing services of Goodnight Podcasting Solutions, help them continue to produce this show every week, because I cannot do it without them. And I will not do it without them. They've been a great producer these last 2 years, and we're about to start our third one. So I hope you guys will stick around, because we have a lot of great plans up our sleeve and a lot of great guests coming up. I've told you within the next 2 weeks, we have great guests coming up. Even if we don't, I'll be here with a monologue, but right now they're on the schedule. So uh stay tuned for the next 2 weeks, and I will see you guys again soon. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. If today's conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. You can find Nick across all platforms by visiting his LinkTree in the show notes. And please leave a comment to join the conversation. Until next time, keep speaking up, keep speaking out, and keep speaking loud.